I'm on the web. I'm on the web. Yeah, wah, wah, wah.
What's up, webheads? Haha, see? Get it?
Yeah, okay.
It works perfectly. What's up, webheads? This is the webcam. I'm Cam. I'm joined here by Peter Parker. I don't know who that is, but Peter Parker.
Well, I'm Peter Parker from the Fifth Multiverse. I'm the one from like the newest movie coming out in 2028, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of that.
it's called Spider-Man Back Home,
Oh, okay.
amigos. It's called El Hombre Araña en la Casa.
Isn't that Miles Morales?
No, Miles Morales. He's just Dominican. He's not. Well, you know, he's African American. I'm Mexican.
Okay. I'm not racist, I swear.
Okay.
Um,
Anyways, guys, I hope that you watched the No Way Home because this entire thing is full of spoilers.
yeah, spoilers ahead. If you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home, do not watch this podcast. There's not even going to be like skip to this part because we're going to be talking about the entire movie, spoilers and all. We're not. I mean, our basic review is like, it's amazing. That's all we can really say without spoiling anything because the entire
Pretty
movie
much.
is spoilers.
And if you've seen our tier list, let me just say that that tier list is 100% accurate.
Yeah,
because
our tier list has not changed.
that movie is actually really impressive, and I'm also planning to see it for a second time. That's how good it is.
I'm seeing it again tomorrow, which at this point will be like a week before this podcast comes out. So I will have seen it twice when this comes out, maybe even 3 times. I don't know. Gonna have to wait and see.
Who knows, man?
Just based on first viewing, and I don't know if it's like recency bias or anything, but like this is my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Same.
So
Sometimes I feel like it is recently biased because like I remember watching thinking that was the best Spider-Man movie.
yeah, I think there's some sort of recency
But
bias.
there's-
This movie, regardless of like recency bias, just I feel like it will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
So
So
how do we even start this? I guess
So starting it out, I would say talking about the build up to this movie, there is a lot of things that are in this movie that was not shown in trailers. It was not shown in TV spots.
basically the trailers is like the first act of the movie. Like they don't really show stuff in the trailers past like the first act of the movie for the most part.
Sony did as much as they can to hide things about the movie, which I honestly appreciated.
But there were a lot of things that we already knew were gonna happen.
There was a lot of like predicted things. So coming into this movie, of course, I'd say, of course, we're starting out with the fallout. If you haven't watched, you know, the entire fallout is pretty much so Mysterio, fucking. So Spider-Man's entire thing is trying to keep his identity. Mysterio breaks that fucking thing, and everybody knows that Spider-Man is now Peter Parker. His identity is flown out like that, and there's a lot of people in this movie, at least in like New York, that hate him, and there's a lot of people that admire him. But what becomes super hard for Peter is the fact that this is around the time where he's trying to go to college, pretty much, and him trying to go to college is affecting his friends, is affecting his family as well. You know, like, because the entire reveal about him being Peter Parker, everybody thinks he's like a murderer and shit. So it's hard for him to like go in public to do anything, which is cool because I've like just to see Peter like almost like seen as a villain by other people is kind of interesting to me. You know? And how people like admire Mysterio. Here's the thing about this movie: Mysterio wasn't really mentioned that much at all, which I expected. Like when I was hearing rumors about this movie before actually watching it, like a long ass time ago when they were in production, I thought there was gonna be like a lot more Mysterio content. You know what I mean? Like I thought. I mean,
I'm glad that he didn't come back. I think
Yeah.
that it's like he's dead. I don't think he's coming back. I'm glad
I
they did
also
that.
thought I also thought Falcon was gonna be in the movie. Or not Falcon, Vulture.
Oh,
For a second.
Vulture. I
Vulture
mean,
was gonna be in the movie,
we'll
but
see
like
him in Morbius. So
we're gonna see him in Morbius
again, we'll
anyways.
get to Morbius probably after we're done talking about the movie because we need to talk about that as well. But
Pretty much.
here's what I'll say about the first act of the movie. So the first act, this is before like Doc Ock. It's before the bridge fight with Doc Ock, basically. So everything before that, I feel like the first act of the movie will be like on rewatches will be the most boring part of the movie. Not just because there's not really any action going on, but because the plot doesn't start until Doc Ock fights Spider-Man on the bridge. Like that's when the movie starts to get good. Like the intro, like it's like okay, he's trying to deal with his identity being known, and he's trying to get into college, but they won't accept him because of all this controversy surrounding him and all that. Like it's an interesting idea, but it just that's not what the movie is about. Like you'd think for after Far From Home's like end credit scene with like his identity being revealed, you think that this movie would be entirely about that. And like you definitely would also think it is the first act, but until the spell with Doctor Strange, that's when like the plot actually starts. Like the main plot is about Spider-Man capturing these multiversal villains. So I will say that because even the first time watching the movie in theaters, I was waiting for the bridge scene with Doc Ock because like
So
I knew that was gonna be like
but
when
you know what I'm glad of? That the entire like movie wasn't just focused on like Peter Parker's identity being revealed. You know what I mean?
yeah
Like I'm glad that like even though the movie was like 2 hours long, like fucking 90% of it was just multi.
yeah there's a lot more they could have done with his identity being known, but I'm glad that wasn't like the full focus here because what we actually got was a lot more interesting and they really stuck the landing with what they went with.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Everything.
we had the whole act one and the spell, which the spell is something that I've heard a lot of people talking about, where it's like this whole movie's like plot started because Peter's like an idiot because he kept like messing with the spell or whatever, and like yeah, but he's also a kid.
Yeah.
It's like yeah,
It's hard.
it's not supposed
Peter,
to be like super serious, you know?
just like us. I mean, like being teenagers and shit like that. Peter fights with his own decisions all the time. You
Yeah.
know what he thinks is best for him. Well, actually, it's more the opposite of that. Peter cares a lot about other people, and you'll see this. You'll see this like pretty much come back to him like later on in the movie or throughout to the movie. Is that his decisions that he makes throughout, especially these like, especially like Far From Home, like you know Homecoming as well. You find this Peter Parker, at least the MCU Peter Parker, he's always trying to like make decisions, but he's always trying super hard to make the right decision.
Yeah.
Because
I
he can
think
fuck-
this movie is where Tom Holland feels the most like Peter Parker, or feels the most like Spider-Man. Like he's making like hard decisions. He's always trying to do the right thing.
And you know one thing, you would think like this movie would kind of like overshadow Tom Holland. That's what I originally thought, but it's more like it builds his character way more in this movie.
Yeah.
And I get
But
to
before we move on to Act 2 with all the
yeah.
multiverse villains and stuff, I feel like we have to talk about Daredevil being in the movie.
Oh yeah, he was a fucking lawyer.
Yeah. To me, so I've never seen the Netflix Daredevil show, and I'm probably going to watch it now because Kingpin's going to be in Hawkeye, and now Daredevil's in Spider-Man. So it's like I feel like I need to watch it now. But to me, not really knowing that much about the Netflix Daredevil show, it seemed like this scene with Daredevil was like kind of forced in a way, because like there's no like there are no charges against Peter Parker in this movie. Like there's no like evidence that he did anything. So like why does he need a lawyer?
Exactly.
And like that scene is like Daredevil's like, yeah, you're gonna need to like lay low or whatever. Like you're gonna need a really good lawyer. He's gonna need a good lawyer for what? Like what happened? But he did catch a break that's thrown through the window, so I thought that
Yeah.
was cool.
I think it's cool that like bunch of characters are like
Yeah,
connected to each
I'd love
other.
to see Daredevil and Spider-Man together in a future movie, like teaming up. Obviously now, Daredevil doesn't know who Peter Parker is, so
Wait, what the fuck?
I mean he knows Spider-Man, so you know if he teams up with Spider-Man, then it's like, oh, you're Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone still knows who Spider-Man is. They just don't know Peter Parker. That's again, that's spoiling the end of the movie. We haven't gotten there yet.
Now, of course, if we're talking about like when Doc Ock comes in, right? A lot. Here's the thing, right? I read way too many articles before watching this movie, so I knew exactly what was going on and what was happening.
Yeah.
Of course, right after the spell was made, you know, with Doctor Strange and shit, everything seemed normal until like so Peter was
I
going out.
really like how they do the spider sense in this movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
it almost
Like
it's almost
the
like
theater, like there's like a sort of like booming like
yeah, like
noise.
with sound and shit.
I
It's
don't want
almost
to
like
spoil I don't want to spoil stuff later, but there's a scene later on where he's with all the villains in the apartment, and there's like a spider sense scene that goes on for like a whole like minute, and you're just like tensing up, like what's going on? Just like
yeah.
it's crazy.
It reminded me a lot of the if you watch the movie Logan, like the seizure that Professor was that his name, Professor
Yeah,
X?
Professor X. Yeah,
Yeah, he was having like in one of the scenes, like that shit was like almost like this like spider sense thing with like the whole sound. It sounded like very loud, but yet like there like you knew something was going on and shit.
yeah. It's like quiet but also loud.
And oh my god, Doc Ock coming back, man. That entire scene was him Peter fighting Doc Ock is probably like I mean this Peter, of course, it's kind of crazy because I feel like this the MCU Peter it kind of feels more like he's more he knows more what is it? It's almost like he's more powerful
Well,
than a lot
yeah,
of these older villains, you
yeah.
know?
I think
Because
so.
and but that's
He has
that's
more
because
gadgets.
he has more gadgets, he has more tech,
Yeah,
and you know like
not anymore
he
though.
kind of and yeah, exactly. Like he kind of knows what he's doing most of the time. He's like more
Yeah.
like a he's more like a
We never
smart.
really got to see like an origin story for this Peter Parker, so we don't really know how long he's had his spider powers and like how long
Yeah,
he's been doing Spider-Man stuff, but he also fought Thanos and was with the Avengers, so like he's definitely has more experience than
he's
the other
been in
two.
space, bro.
Yeah. Um yeah, the Doc Ock scene, it's a really good fight scene. I love how the Iron Spider takes over his arms and then he like, you know,
Which is
controls them.
exactly what I thought was gonna happen.
Yeah. And then Green Goblin shows up and it's like fucking crazy. And then he gets fucking teleported into the Doctor Strange sanctum. Also, Doc Ock fight scene on the bridge is still not better than the train scene in Spider-Man 2. I'm sorry to say. I don't think it's as good as that. The train scene is still the best Doc Ock fight.
It still is, but like you know, we got what we got, and like that
Yeah.
entire scene still made me really
Yeah,
excited.
all the action in this movie is amazing.
Yeah,
So so yeah, then we get to the Sanctum, and we see that Doctor Strange has, you know, he's like pissed off because all these villains are showing up, and he's already captured the Lizard, who is from the Amazing Spider-Man movie.
so now it's pretty much up to Peter to capture these villains and send them back into their multiverse. But
Yeah,
of course, we get into the scene where like of course Doctor Strange pretty much gives him like the little what is it? What does he give him?
it's like a magic gauntlet thing.
It's like yeah, like he gives him like a suit or whatever. It's like his like black suit where he
Well,
can
he doesn't
capture-
give him the suit; he just gives him the gauntlet.
yeah, which changes.
Because earlier in the movie, his like Far From Home suit, like the black and red one, the upgraded suit, during like a small segment of just like a bunch of clips, someone like throws green paint on his suit, and like throughout the beginning of the movie he's trying to like scrub it off, but he can't, so he turns the suit inside out, So it's the Far From Home suit turned inside out, and he wears the gauntlet with that. And then he goes after he goes into like this like electricity thing. I don't know what it's called.
So yeah, so
It's a bunch of electric lines and shit, and then Electro shows up.
We see Electro, but this is the older Electro, of course, like from
Amazing Spider-Man 2, and like the dubstep. The dubstep is there when he shows up, and he's blue when he shows up, but then he like turns back into a human and like turns yellow.
So what he's doing there, he's pretty much charging himself with the power that's there.
Yeah, I think the power in the MCU is probably way better because like Iron Man is in this universe, and he probably has something to do with that.
Yeah.
So he's basically like he's more powerful in this universe.
Yeah.
I think that's why he like has a like he's not blue anymore. Like he has like a real body is because he can like now with his electric powers he can generate his whole body or something. I think they tried to explain it, but it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But we also got Sandman in this scene, and he's actually helping Spider-Man. Because if you remember from the end of Spider-Man 3, like he
turns into a hero.
Yeah, they were on good terms. Obviously, it's not the same Spider-Man that he knew, but like he thinks it is.
Sandman is confused as hell, like to what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And so Spider-Man pretty much kicks both of their asses.
Yeah. Well, Sandman's not like a bad guy. He just wants to go home.
Sandman and Spider-Man, help each other to get Electro. And of course, Electro becomes really upset because, like, he has his motivation is to pretty much become better and have people recognize him more.
Yeah, he just wanted to be cool. That's all.
Yeah.
And in this universe, he's cool because nobody knows him. So
exactly.
So yeah, they've captured almost all of the villains, but there's still the Goblin left, and there's a scene with the Green Goblin where he well, not with the Green Goblin, more with Norman Osborn. I guess he's also the Green Goblin, but like he's not being under control of the Goblin, or the Goblin's not under control of him, and he destroys the Green Goblin helmet. So he's trying to not be bad anymore. So he goes to the feast center where Aunt May works or whatever. And he's like, he wants help, and like he's not in his own universe anymore.
And he also tries to explain that he's being like tortured by like the whole Goblin.
Yeah, like he's not a bad guy. Like he's definitely like the worst villain, not like the worst, but like he's a fucking bad guy when he's the Green Goblin.
Like when he's bad, when he's bad.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Like he just kills people for fun when he's the Green Goblin, but he doesn't want to be the Green Goblin, but he can't like help it. Like it's his second persona, and it's like the Goblin serum or whatever the fuck.
So pretty much Peter tries to help him, but he kind of sees like he tries. Aunt May really tries to explain to Peter throughout this movie that like his
great power comes great responsibility. Yeah,
and this Spider-Man's motivation is to pretty much help people and not try to kill people.
Yeah. So basically, Peter wants to cure these villains, and he doesn't want to just send them back to their universes just to have them die, because they all got taken like right before they died.
Right before they would get killed.
Unless they didn't die, which
exactly.
I don't really know what point, because like Lizard didn't die, but
Sandman didn't die either.
Yeah, Sandman didn't die, and like I can understand Sandman because I'm sure in that universe he still has the sand powers in current times. But Lizard, right? He didn't die. He got turned back into a human and went to jail. But in this movie, he's a lizard. So either he was taken before he died, but not before he died, before he turned back into a human, and he was still a lizard, or he somehow turned back into a lizard in modern times.
I mean, Lizard wasn't really like cared about in this movie.
No,
much
no.
at all.
I'd say that Lizard and Sandman are the most underdeveloped of the 5 villains.
But for a reason, because they're not really that big of villains,
Yeah, I mean, obviously Green Goblin is the main villain of this movie, but
yeah, which is good.
Yeah, so they go back to the sanctum, and they lock up Green Goblin, and he says his iconic line, "I'm something of a scientist myself."
Myself, yeah.
Which I'm made me laugh. But Doctor Strange wants to send them all back and just have them die because it's like their fate, like it's what they were supposed to do. But Peter doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And there's like this box that's like it's what they use to send them back. And Peter steals it, and him and Doctor Strange have like a battle, and like it's really cool.
That battle was intense.
Yeah, that battle is really cool because we basically get a lot of visuals from Doctor Strange.
A lot of CGI, crazy ass.
Yeah, a lot of like the mirror dimension and all that shit, and then
it almost reminded me of Far From the whole like Mysterio, like hallucinations.
And then Peter beats him by doing some math. So
geometry.
Like, does some geometry on him, and it's really cool. It's really cool. So then we get into the next part of the movie, which is Peter and the villains move into Happy Hogan's apartment, and they're trying to cure all the villains, or like make them not bad anymore. So the first one is Doc Ock, which they fix his chip in his spine or whatever that has the arms that control him, and then he's a good guy again. Like he's not.
They successfully do it, and he becomes more of because like the thing is that what we know about Doc Ock is that his entire motivation in Spider-Man 2 was to pretty much help humanity.
Yeah, Doc Ock's not a bad guy. He
wasn't a bad guy.
He's really dedicated to science and dedicated to knowledge. But
knowledge just takes over him.
Yeah, when the mechanical arms become in control, the only thing that he cares about is building the machine.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't care about anyone. He just if anyone gets in his way of building the machine, then he'll kill them. But now he's a good guy again, which I really like. And then they also put like a power dampener on Electro to like get rid of his powers, but he's not really into it, because he likes being Electro, like he likes being cool.
Exactly. It just takes away all his powers.
Yeah, it just takes away his powers. And they're making like a cure for Green Goblin to get rid of the Goblin. So
pretty much they're giving all these villains a second chance, but they would have to live in like this multiverse pretty much.
Yeah.
They would have to go through like their own things. But I think Peter's motivation was also to almost build a team as well,
Yeah. Just to make them all good people again.
Exactly.
And this is where we get that spider sense scene that I was talking about, where like there's an entire minute of like spider sense.
But before you say that, right? When they were building the cures for other people, I'm pretty sure Peter uses the like Tony Stark thing with like how he makes like all his gadgets and suits and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was an Iron Man type thing.
Yeah, pretty much. But that would upgrade all their gadgets, all their stuff, like make them a lot stronger and better.
Yeah. So yeah, the spider sense thing happens, and he webs Green Goblin's arm because like he's the Goblin now. He's not Norman Osborn anymore, and he's like telling Peter that like you got to sacrifice shit, and like you're a god. Stuff like that. Like he says some crazy shit. Again, I've only seen the movie once, so I don't remember everything word for word, but like he basically tells Peter like you can take whatever you want because you're super powered. So like fuck.
Exactly.
So then Aunt May has to get the fuck out of there. And she grabs the goblin antidote, sure. I guess, and she's like running out of there because Goblin's just gonna fucking kill her. So then there's like a big fight scene where like Doc Ock is fighting Electro and Spider-Man's fighting Green Goblin, and the other villains like run away. And
Lizard was in the fucking truck the entire time.
Yeah, Lizard was in the truck the whole time.
Because who the fuck cares about him?
Yeah, he was nerfed. They had to keep him somewhere. And this fight scene in the apartment, fucking Green Goblin body slams Spider-Man through like 3 floors.
Yeah, that was insane. Yeah. I almost forgot about that too.
These Green Goblin versus Spider-Man fights in this movie are like absolutely brutal.
Yeah. They're I've never seen like action scenes like that in Spider-Man movies. Like when it's like instead of using like what is it? Instead of using superpowers most of the time, it was more like physical. It was like one-on-one fist and like throwing
I
down,
feel like
almost
in
like
the first Tobey Maguire movie, we didn't really get to see like how strong Green Goblin really was because we didn't really see him fight a lot. He was kind of just flying around and threw bombs, and then he like fought Spider-Man at the very end. But like in this movie, you really get to see how strong he is. Like he just tanks punches from Spider-Man, like full force. He just like he tanks them, and then he body slams people through 6 floors in an apartment building. It's like it's crazy. And then obviously we get to one of the biggest scenes in the entire movie, where Aunt May dies.
pretty much, yeah.
So honestly, I feel like the way that this was executed was not perfect because the way that it happens, it like so she like gets hit by the glider and then falls down, and then Green Goblin throws a bomb and like it blows up, but like she still like seems fine, and the scene like goes on for a pretty long time, so you think that like she's gonna be okay, but then like she's able to stand up and have like a conversation with Peter and whatever, but then she like falls down and she's like bleeding out. So it's like very sad.
It is. It's sad, but the one thing I'll tell you about this is that it's not that I didn't care about Aunt May at all. Is that there wasn't a lot about Aunt May that I really cared about, but it's Aunt May. End of the day, it's like it's an important symbol for Peter.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, I think something that this movie kind of like implies later in the movie is that there is no Uncle Ben in this universe.
Yeah.
Because there's a scene later where the 3 Spider-Men are talking about lost or whatever, and Andrew and Toby are like, Uncle Ben, like we lost Uncle Ben or whatever, and like Tom doesn't say anything about Uncle Ben. I think in this universe there is no Uncle Ben, so this is like the Uncle Ben moment.
Like all this, and the crazy thing about this is that all these things are pretty much meant to be. Like the whole multiverse thing, was pretty much supposed to happen, you know?
Yeah.
Especially because, Aunt May uses the words, with great power comes great responsibility, which kind of just, throws on that. Like, the Spider-Man origin story, is pretty much similar to all, like all of them,
Yeah.
They're all, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
With, different kinds of things going on.
So then we get to the biggest not surprise moment of the movie. So Ned and MJ are trying to find Peter because he's missing after that battle. So Ned had stolen the sling ring from Doctor Strange after Spider-Man fought him earlier. So he tries to open a portal and he's like, help me find Peter Parker. Like, where's Peter? And guess who? Andrew Garfield shows up.
Andrew Garfield
in his full Spider-Man costume.
And honestly, when I saw this, right, I just thought it was gonna be Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, I totally agree, because after Andrew shows up, there's like a whole scene of just like him, like he climbs on the ceiling and like
I thought that was gonna be it. I was cobwebs,
and like I thought it was just gonna be Andrew, and like that would have been fine too, because Andrew's really good in this movie. I think this is the best he's been as Spider-Man, because he's in a well-written movie, obviously. But yeah, we got Andrew here, and then they're like, try again, try to get him through another portal. And then you got Tobey Maguire, and he comes in with just normal clothes on, which is kind of exactly how I thought it was going to be. I thought that after Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, Tobey was going to be more of a family man, and like he'd be more like Peter Parker. Like he'd be more focused on the Peter Parker side of things, but also still be Spider-Man, but he'd still have a family with MJ and like be more focused on himself. Whereas after Amazing Spider-Man 2, after Gwen died and all that stuff, that Andrew...
He's still trying to struggle.
Yeah,
with,
I thought that Andrew would just be completely dedicated to being Spider-Man and not really have a Peter Parker life, like outside of being Spider-Man. And that's pretty much exactly what happens.
Yeah, because I feel like he's had a bunch of like deaths happen to him, because Amazing Spider-Man is more of a darker side of Spider-Man, like compared to the other movies. So like his main focus is being Spider-Man only because he's kind of tired of being himself,
Yeah.
because the more that he's Peter, the more that he like has these like relationships and like loss and stuff like that, he's never gonna really like feel better about it unless he's Spider-Man.
Yeah. So then we get the first interaction of the three Spider-Men. They all meet on the roof of the high school, because that's where Peter goes when he's like upset or something.
Yeah.
We get a really good scene where the three of them talk about like what's been going on, like losing Aunt May, and stuff like that. And like Tom is just ready to send all the villains back, and like he's basically given up on trying to redeem them because Green
He
Goblin like
wants
killed.
them all dead.
Yeah, he
pretty much.
basically wants them all to die anyway. But the other two Spider-Men talk him out of it. We hear that Andrew's like he's kind of like super edgy now in a way, where like he stopped pulling his punches, so now he like literally beats people to death in his universe.
Nice.
Like because he's just like so like upset, I guess. So he's kind of like the edgy Spider-Man now.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, we get all of them to talk together, and then they start working on antidotes for Green Goblin again, and start working on cures for the other villains, Sandman and stuff. We get some good dialogue with all of them together. Just all of the scenes with the three of them interacting with each other is just great. Like it never feels out of place or like not serious enough. Like there's definitely jokey stuff.
It never feels strange to see them together. It's almost like it's kind of like meant to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they get along just fine as well. Like, there isn't really any like people say like it's like that those entire scenes were awkward, them like meeting each other. I'd say the most awkward was when like the Tom Holland Spider-Man was seeing all the villains and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like their interactions.
I thought a really good scene was when they talked about how Toby makes his own web fluid in his body.
Oh yeah, then they asked him where like it comes out of your hand, but where else is?
Yeah. So after they all like make all the cures and stuff, they go to the Statue of Liberty, which is they're now putting a Captain America shield on in the MCU. And Peter like calls Tom Peter. I'm gonna have to start calling them by their actors' names now because there's three Peter Parkers.
Going with the Statue of Liberty, apparently that was mentioned in. I mean, this is what I've heard. I'm pretty sure it was mentioned in Hawkeye.
The Statue of Liberty.
The remodeled Statue of Liberty.
I'm not entirely sure.
The remodel one now has like the Captain America shield and shit.
Yeah. Well, the end of this movie takes place around Christmas, and Hawkeye takes place around Christmas. So I wouldn't be surprised if Spider-Man shows up in the last episode of Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So yeah, he calls the Daily Bugle, and he like basically like tells everyone this is my fault that all these bad people are here. I'm gonna try to send them back, and he basically like tells them where he is.
Yeah.
So Sandman and Electro and Lizard show up, and we get the three Spider-Men in action, all in their suits. And they like at first they don't really work super well together because they never really worked on a team. But then like Tom's like, "Don't worry, guys, I was on the Avengers," and Toby's like, "That's great. What is that?"
Yo, when he said that's great, like right after that, I was like, "Wait, an Avengers exist like in their universe?" I was like, "What the hell?" But then, of course, he doesn't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah. But eventually they start working better together, and we get like some great action scenes. Eventually Doc Ock shows up, and we get a great reunion of him and Toby, where they
finally see each other again.
Yeah, Doc Ock's like you've grown up and everything.
What I like about this is the not only were there fights within like different multiverses and when it comes to like villains and heroes and shit like that, but there was also like reunions.
Yeah.
With characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
because you got to remember that all these villains were taken from before they died or like at some point in the past. Yeah. But Toby and Andrew are from the current time. So like they're like way older than Tom now.
Exactly.
So like a lot has happened with them. So like they're seeing like Toby hasn't seen Doc Ock in a very long time because he died. So like this is like he's alive again and like he's not evil anymore. So it's like a big thing. So like Doc Ock helps them and they all like they cure all the villains, and Electro and Spider-Man, Andrew Spider-Man, they get a good talk as well.
Yeah.
And Electro like brings up that like he thought that he was going to be black. And Andrew's, Andrew's like, maybe there is a black Spider-Man out there or something.
Yeah.
So obviously they're teasing Miles Morales. Eventually Doctor Strange comes back. He comes through another portal, and this is what happens then is Green Goblin shows up. So now everybody's at this party, and Green Goblin blows up the cube thing, and that starts destroying the multiverse pretty much. So Doctor Strange is trying to hold that together, and while that's happening, the other Spider-Men are curing all the villains. Eventually, they've cured all of them except for Green Goblin, and Tom is fucking pissed off because Green Goblin killed Aunt May, so he starts beating the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Like he's like,
that scene was crazy with Tom Holland because you get like he pretty much becomes like oh my god, like
bully.
He starts like
bully Holland.
Yeah, bully McGuire.
Yeah, bully Holland.
He starts beating the shit out of him, like wanted to kill him.
And Green Goblin's just like laughing, like he's just taking it.
That was crazy when he started punching him in the face and he was laughing and shit.
Yeah, Green Goblin is like much more threatening in this movie. Like he's fucking crazy in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely nuts.
And like Tom's about to like kill him with his own glider, but then Toby steps in because in Toby's universe, he let the Goblin die, and that like kind of
didn't want that to happen.
Yeah, because that also like remember in those movies that made Harry hate him, his best friend Harry, and then Harry died because of that. So he basically didn't want that to happen, or like he didn't want Tom to feel regret at some point later on for killing the Goblin. And Toby gets stabbed by the Goblin, but luckily he does not die. I thought he was going to die, and that I was not ready for that. But
yeah, I was like, shit, please don't do this to me.
Luckily he did not.
You know, it's crazy because like when we were hearing rumors right before this movie, we heard rumors that like Toby was gonna die. Like there was and I was like, no fucking way. Yeah, this is happening.
Yeah,
I thought he was dead for sure because it was like almost like a role reversal where like. It's instead of Peter didn't really kill Osborn. Peter didn't really kill Osborn in the first movie, but it's kind of like a role reversal where like Osborn or Green Goblin kills Peter Parker.
Yeah,
and it's a crazy scene.
Yeah, but no, Andrew throws Tom the antidote, and he cures the Green Goblin. So he's just back to being Norman Osborn. But then Doctor Strange is like, I can't fucking stop this. We're going to have to do something about the multiverse collapsing right now. And then figure out the only way to do that is for the world to forget who Peter Parker is. Mm-hmm. Which, like, this is another, like, huge decision that he has to make. Because
that's taken away, like, pretty much everyone, like, MJ,
yeah, like he already lost Uncle Ben. Obviously, we haven't really seen that, but he lost Uncle Ben. He lost Tony Stark. He lost Aunt May.
He's gonna lose everyone.
Yeah, and like right now, he has like Happy Hogan, he has Ned, and he has MJ, and he's gonna lose them now as well because they're not gonna remember him. But like it's either he does that or the entire fucking world collapses, I guess. So, I'd say he made the right decision. And everybody forgets who he is. All of the villains go back to their universes to hopefully change what happens in those universes, I guess. Not really sure how that part of the spell works, because like the villains aren't evil anymore, or like they don't have any powers. So either they're just going to immediately get killed again, or like something's going to change.
Yeah.
And the other two Spider-Men go back. I hope we see them in the future. I don't think we're ever going to see Toby again, because apparently it was very hard to get him in this movie. But I think we'll definitely see Andrew again.
Yeah,
I think they're either going to make an Amazing Spider-Man 3, or he's going to show up in the Venom movies.
That should happen. Andrew, I got nothing much else to say than good things about Andrew, except for the movies. I'd say, because like Andrew is a really good Spider-Man. He
Yeah,
really is.
he really fits the
He's
character
good
well.
as Spider-Man. The only problem is just literally just the movies, and when you're not having a good plot, or you don't, this like a movie isn't really written that good, of course it just messes it up,
Yeah.
But his character, his like
Yeah,
charisma,
he's a really good actor, so
he really is. And I think if his past movies were a lot better, I would consider him as the best Spider-Man. But of course, like,
yeah. He's also kind of like the comedic relief Spider-Man in this movie. Like, I feel like he has the funniest moments of the three when
yeah.
they're like interacting.
Now, there's one thing that we did not mention, and that was the scene with MJ falling from the
Oh yeah, Andrew saving MJ.
Andrew saving MJ, which of course was like almost like a if you've seen the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie, Peter letting Gwen die, it's almost like he's trying not to let that happen again. It's almost like, back.
Yeah, it's kind of a redemption.
Yeah.
And the fact that he like
Well,
starts crying after he saves her.
I did not think that he was going to be the one to save her, but that was cool because of course seeing the trailers we saw it as Tom
It was a very good callback, so
yeah.
I'm glad that they did that. But yeah, the end of the movie is very sad as well.
Very sad, yeah.
So in this new, I mean, it's the same universe, but now nobody knows who Peter Parker is. So Tom, I guess I don't need to call him Tom anymore because there's only one Spider-Man now. So Peter goes to MJ's work, and he like tries to he says like he has a whole thing like written down what he's gonna say to her and stuff, but like I feel like throughout that scene he realizes that they're better off not knowing him because then they won't have to deal with the stuff going on and like they won't be in danger of knowing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And everything. So like they get accepted into college, which they couldn't at the beginning of the movie because they were, of the controversy with Spider-Man. So like everything's working out great for them. So Peter just decides not to tell her anything. And then he gets an apartment, and the very ending of this movie with the apartment and like the end swinging scene reminds me a lot of the intro to the PS4 game.
Yeah.
Where like, Peter's in the apartment.
The suit that he has after that as well, like that was so good, man.
Yeah, the suit at the end, he makes it all himself. There's no more Stark suits, no more Stark tech.
No more of that.
Right here, this is Spider-Man now.
This is literally Spider-Man.
Yeah, like
This is not fucking Tony Stark's sidekick anymore.
Yeah, this is not Iron Boy Jr. This is Spider-Man now.
This is like, yeah, pretty much.
I feel like in a way, this trilogy, Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home, this was the origin story.
This is the origin. This entire thing is
we're just starting now.
We're just literally getting, and because it's already confirmed, I'm pretty sure that we're getting another
trilogy.
So this is gonna be like the other trilogy is gonna be completely different to like what's going on. Of course, we're gonna have a lot of like, I'm sure in the next movie, we're gonna finally get MJ, Ned, and
like, I honestly don't think we're gonna see MJ or Ned again.
Who the fuck knows, man?
I think for a while he's not going to have a like love interest. Maybe Black Cat would be interesting.
A Gwen Stacy for that universe.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to like theories for the next movie in a little bit. But yeah, the movie ends with him checking his phone, seeing what crimes are going on. He puts on his new suit and he swings at night in the snow. So this is like very close to around Christmas. So around the same time that Hawkeye is happening. So I hope that we see Spider-Man in the finale, but I also don't really think that's going to happen. But it would be really cool. So yeah, really good way to end the movie. It's just makes people hopeful for the next trilogy, for the next movie. Like I want to see more Tom Holland as Spider-Man now. Like he is Spider-Man now. I'm very happy with it. And then we have the end credit scenes, of course.
Well, the mid-credit scene.
Yeah, the mid-credit scene. I'm so glad that Venom 2 had an end credit scene to set up another end credit scene.
Why did you not want to see Venom in the movie? Like,
I thought he was gonna actually be in the movie, not just like another end credit scene.
so did I. I was like, I was trying to when that going back to like a little bit before when that entire thing with the multiverses like opening and stuff like that, and Doctor Strange not being able to like close it down.
Yeah, you thought that's when Venom was gonna show up?
I thought that's when Venom was gonna fly in, like.
Yeah,
But
would've been
obviously
cool.
they didn't.
We're definitely
didn't-
going to be seeing the Black Suit and or Venom in the next trilogy.
Yes, because
Um,
if you didn't see that, Tom Hardy's there, and of course he's still in the tropical island scene where he's having his vacation. So it's
Yeah.
like the same one, but in the different multiverse, of course.
Yeah, and he's talking to the bartender about the universe. They're talking about like the Avengers, basically.
Yeah, and he doesn't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah. So basically, the way that this spell worked is that it's like people who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. In the Venom universe, there is no Spider-Man, but the symbiote has a multiversal hive mind. So the
Yeah.
symbiote knows that in another universe, Venom fought Spider-Man, and that was in the Tobey Maguire universe.
I feel like
So that's why they are teleported to the MCU, because the symbiote knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
I feel like when the Venom symbiote saw of course going back to Let There Be Carnage, saw Peter Parker, he kind of had like this. It wasn't really like he wanted to like attack Peter Parker. He almost had like this like relationship with it.
Yeah,
You know what I
maybe
mean?
maybe because of the symbiote from Spider-Man 3, maybe it wanted that power again, because once it connects to Spider-Man, it gets like Spider-Man powers, basically. Like it can web swing and shit.
Exactly. Like I wanted to have all that stuff.
Yeah,
So
it becomes more powerful that way.
yeah, and so I think purposely, of course, it makes sense. Some of that Venom symbiote was left there. For a
Yeah.
reason.
So yeah, Venom, or Tom Hardy Venom, Eddie Brock, was sent back to his universe.
But it's a
after the
little bit
spell
strange
ended.
because the symbiote is almost like has multiple different brains at once. You know?
Yeah, it's one brain, but it's a multiversal brain. So all the symbiote has the same knowledge.
But does Venom like the Venom from like the the Venom movies, right?
Yeah.
Does he do that purposely, or is that like the symbiote, or is he the symbiote? Like I just
Oh, does he purposefully leave a drop of symbiote?
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's because they were like drunk or something. They just left a piece. Unless Venom did it on purpose, I don't really know. But yeah, there's a piece of symbiote is left, and now the symbiote is in the MCU. So we'll definitely see the Black Suit and or Venom and or Agent Venom in a later movie.
We could.
I don't think Agent Venom would be very cool because the Flash Thompson in the MCU is kind of a
Is there-
loser.
Yeah.
He's kind of like an idiot. I'd more rather see the Black Suit first and then maybe Venom later, so then he can have like the white spider symbol on him, just like in Spider-Man 3.
Now, what could happen is that Spider-Man, of course, will get the black suit, but like the thing is, he will try to figure out where the symbiote comes from in a way, right?
Yeah.
Freaking like maybe bring it back, and I feel like they're gonna do the entire multiverse thing again, where he tries to go into the Venom world to figure out like how to.
Nah, I don't
do
think
this-
I don't think that's gonna
No,
happen.
No, who the fuck knows? Because Marvel does have plans to still use multiverse things for like a while now.
Yeah, I
mean,
mean we got Doctor Strange. Speaking of Doctor Strange, the second end credit scene is the trailer for Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. That movie looks crazy. I don't really know what to say about it. It has the evil Doctor Strange at the end, which is from What If.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of questions. I don't really know. Like, so at the end of the movie, Doctor Strange's spell works, and the multiverse doesn't cave in or whatever. So like, what is this movie about? Like, what happened? What are they trying to do in the multiverse?
I feel like a lot of it has to do with not a lot of it, but like with WandaVision and stuff like that.
Yeah, obviously
True.
Wanda was in the trailer as well.
It's I don't know. I think we're gonna have to wait to see.
Yeah, the trailer just gave me more questions than answers, especially after watching the No Way Home.
Well, that movie can open up a lot of, just like this No Way Home can open up a lot of like worlds, pretty
Yeah.
much with different characters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
who knows?
I think we'll see the X-Men characters in Doctor
That's
Strange.
exactly what I was thinking. X-Men. No.
Yeah, I'd love to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine again. Maybe in his comic book costume this time.
Maybe. Well, here's the thing. Maybe he won't return for the series. Like, make a brief appearance. That wouldn't even hurt.
Yeah, but I think we will definitely see a lot of crazy shit in that movie.
Yeah.
So, should we talk about Morbius or should we talk about Spider-Man 4?
No, I think it's better to talk about Spider-Man 4 than Morbius.
Well, we're going to talk about both, but I'm just saying what should we talk about first?
Spider-Man 4. Might as well.
Okay, so what do you think will happen in the next movie? Do you think that the symbiote is going to be the main plot point of the next movie, or?
I think so. I mean, it would only make sense. But I do think because the thing with Morbius is that what I don't understand is that whether or not.
So we're talking about Morbius then.
Whether
There's
or
not
not,
really much to talk about with what we think the next movie of Spider-Man could be about. Because
I don't understand. I don't understand Morbius, to be honest.
Okay, we're just gonna talk about Morbius then.
Okay.
Okay, so Morbius, right? Here's my theory about Morbius. So there's the Tobey Maguire graffiti in the trailer, right? Oscorp is the same as in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Vulture is from the MCU, but he's also in this movie. And then they also talk about Venom in the trailers of Morbius. Like they talk about the Venom incident and like shit like that. I think that Morbius takes place in the same universe as Venom, which takes place in the same universe as the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Now, Vulture, I don't know. Maybe he just looks the same in both universes. That's my theory. The Toby graffiti, I also can't explain. But that's just what I think. There's really no way to like be right unless this movie takes place in some sort of combined universe or something.
But this movie's very confusing.
Or maybe they're doing that on purpose. I think that's actually what they're doing.
They're just messing with us.
Yeah, maybe Vulture's not even in the movie. Maybe that's just for the trailer.
I don't know.
I think if anything that this movie takes place in the Amazing Spider-Man and Venom universe.
Yeah.
So I think that Andrew will appear in Morbius if it is in that universe. I don't think Venom's gonna show up though.
It's gonna be crazy because you're gonna have like a lot. If we get an Amazing Spider-Man 3, like we're gonna have that, and then we're gonna have like the Tom.
Yeah, there's gonna be 2 different universes of Spider-Man movies coming out.
Yeah.
So
A lot of stuff.
But then, like, with Sony's universe, with, like, Venom and Morbius and stuff, and whatever else they're doing, like, if they want a Spider-Man in a movie, they can use Andrew instead.
Yeah.
So there can be 2 different versions of the characters. And it can work well now, because now we know that they're both happening at the same time, but they're just in different universes. You know? And, like, they're both, like, somehow canon with each other. Like,
yes. They both still know each other, you know? Everyone forgot who Peter Parker was, but I'm pretty sure that only went to like that multiverse.
Yeah, that universe.
Yeah.
The MCU.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely possible that at some point in the future they could cross over again. Tom and Andrew could meet again. Be really cool. I hope that we see Venom and Carnage in the MCU now.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Tom Hardy's good and all, but that version of the character is completely different. Like he's not like a villain. And also Carnage was just completely wasted in the Venom universe, so like just a complete joke. Like he looked cool, but I don't know. I feel like they could do it better, especially if they have Spider-Man in it.
But honestly, we're still gonna get a lot of Spider-Man to come.
Yeah, there's so much Spider-Man still coming out. We have the Spider-Man 2 video game. not the original Spider-Man 2 video game, but Marvel
We have
Spider-Man 2 on
the
PS5.
next Into the Spider-Verse movie. I don't forget what it's called.
Yeah. What is it called?
Whatever. Miles Morales. Next
Spider
Miles
Spider
Morales
Verse
movie.
2. We got.
And who the hell knows? We might get a Miles Morales for the, you
Yeah.
know, or for Amazing. You never know.
Yeah, Spider-Man could show up in Hawkeye. Spider-Man could show up in Doctor Strange 2. I feel like you could just be anywhere now. You never know.
Yeah, but there's still more Spider-Man stuff to come.
Yeah, there's more Spider-Man stuff to come. Not for this podcast though.
No, we probably won't be talking about Spider-Man for a while.
Yeah, we've already done 3 like Spider-Man podcasts at this point. We're gonna take a break for a while. So yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home, my favorite Spider-Man movie. Probably, I would say it's like top tier MCU. I don't know if I'd have it as number 1 in MCU.
But it's great.
Yeah,
It's a Spider-Man Endgame movie, which
yeah. Like
you're
my
completely
favorite
right.
MCU movies are like Infinity War, Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I have like a lot of favorites, but Spider-Man No Way Home is definitely among my favorites, but I don't know if it is my favorite MCU movie. I still have only seen it once, so maybe after my second viewing, maybe my opinion will have changed, but recency bias. So, yeah,
I
very
completely-
very good movie. I would
Go
recommend.
check it out again. Well, we probably shouldn't say go check it out because you would have to watch the movie.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie and you've watched the whole podcast,
what are you doing with your life?
what are you doing? You just spoiled the whole movie. But even if you don't really care about spoilers, like I would still
Still watch
recommend. Even if you don't like know anything about Spider-Man or don't really care
Just
about
go
this
for it,
movie,
man.
I still recommend this movie. It's
Just go
amazing.
for it.
It's
good.
spectacular, even. Yes.
So far, best Spider-Man movie, but there's still more to come, and I'm happy. I'm still happy.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
I think this movie definitely it lived up to the hype. It stuck the landing. Basically, everything that I was expecting was in the movie, plus more.
The movie didn't end. There's just a new beginning.
Yeah, like the end felt like a new beginning. So
Yeah.
give us your thoughts on the movie in the comments. Let us know what you thought, where you'd rank it among the Spider-Man movies. Tell us what's going on.
Of course, give this podcast a like. Thank you for everyone listening to us on Spotify and Cloud. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I know I did, of course.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
this is our last podcast of the year. We've only been doing this podcast for 6 weeks, I think, because we started it late November, I believe.
But it's honestly a great way to end 2021, and I hope for everyone celebrating. I think this podcast releases before New Year's.
Yeah, this podcast comes out on New Year's Eve.
Okay, so for everyone that's celebrating, New Year's tonight, Happy New Year's to everyone.
Yeah, happy New Year's, everyone. We have a great next year of the webcam, hopefully. We have no plans of stopping anytime soon. I have a lot of ideas for future episodes. We want to at least get past like 10 episodes
Pretty
before
much,
even
yeah.
thinking about quitting. We really enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
So, like, definitely keep the likes coming. Share with your friends if you haven't. Share with everyone you know. If you don't, then I'll find you. So,
Yeah.
uh,
But thank you guys for watching. Obviously.
yeah, that's all. That's
appreciate-
all we got to say. Hopefully, we'll
Appreciate
see you next year.
See you guys next year.
Yeah.
Fucking webcam 2022.
Yeah, webcam 2022. New era coming soon.
New era. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Are we going ghost? We're going ghost.
We're going
Going-
ghost. Maybe next time we'll have a different outro. We'll have an original one.
We'll see.
Whatever. I'm on the web. Yeah, I'm on the web. Dropping soon. Hopefully. Maybe it'll be out by this point. I don't know. All right.
Peace
Love
out,
y'all. See ya.
guys.